Okay, if you remember that picture of Blake Holden that was up on the screen, okay, that's Blake Holden as I remember him, Mr. Exuberance, all right, even outside the athletic realm. Blake was somewhat of a prodigy in that he was a cross-country runner even early in his career here, won the middle school championship when he was here, went on to be a great wrestler, MSA champion in wrestling, and a member of Joe McFadden's MSA Lacrosse team. So, welcome back, Blake Holden, class of 1990. Blake, did Matt Jackson make you?
I was wondering where he is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. My mother told me to make sure to speak into the microphone, so let me adjust this. Is that good, Mom? Does that work? Okay. Thank you to the committee. This is incredibly humbling. Since for me it was never about personal awards. Candidly, I just really enjoyed winning and tried to do whatever I could to bring home championships. I'll cover three things quickly in less than 5 minutes. First, some thank yous. Next, comment on the meaning of this recognition to me. Finally, wrap up with a quick story. So first off, thanks go to the good Lord for the blessings He bestowed on me. But not just for the talent, but for the folks in this room. And speaking to the folks in this room, first of all, to my parents for their sacrifice and their support over the years. Next, to my coaches for their leadership and their enthusiasm. As Mrs. Stewart mentioned, I played 3 sports here, cross-country wrestling and lacrosse. Cross-country, Coach Albernos, Kirby, and Cucuzella were out there running the streets on a daily basis with me. In wrestling, Frazier and Cucuzella were actually wrestling with me, against me on a daily basis and helping me get better. And in lacrosse, what can I say about Coach McFadden? He was the quintessential leader who accepted nothing less than a championship effort from us on a daily basis. And I think because of that, those championships in '89 and '90 were really meaningful. Finally, my teammates, that goon squad over there in the corner, because these were the guys that made it fun. As Jim mentioned, the brotherhood here, it's hard to describe. I certainly can't name them all, but we had a culture where winning was expected and lackadaisical efforts were not tolerated. So turning to the second point, this is where I'll expand a little bit on that culture that I just mentioned. We had a group of guys here who expected to win. It was sort of a given that we were going to win. There was no question about it. But we wouldn't let it go to one another's heads. Now, granted, if you spoke with any one of us individually, I think someone would say yes, these guys do have egos. But on a relative basis, we wouldn't let each other get too big of a head. If someone had a good game, you don't make a big deal out of it. In fact, it was just the next day in the cafeteria, you'd get a little more razzed, right? Someone would just give a little more smack talk in the cafeteria. And candidly, it still happens to this day. When this award was announced, when this honor was announced, one of the first comments I received from a buddy who goes back probably to first grade was, well, I guess they needed a cross-country guy. Thanks, I appreciate that, Don. So the most meaningful recognitions come from my peers, from my mentors, from the coaches. The Locher Award here, when Dan McNeil was running for class president senior year, and he pulled me aside and asked me to run as his vice president, and now this. Which leads me to the final item I'd like to cover. I think I've been blessed with the sense for making good decisions. My parents over there may disagree, may not entirely agree with the comments, so I'll differentiate between the bigger macro decisions and call it the day-to-day, smaller micro decisions. And I remember being a middle schooler at St. Paul's just down the road and playing lacrosse. And let me give you the backdrop. My older brother was at St. Paul's, and my uncle had graduated from St. Paul's. I think my mother was the head of the PTA at St. Paul's. And my parents had found a plot of land and built a house just at the base of the hill right across from the athletic fields at St. Paul. So we'd actually moved next door to St. Paul's because that's where I'd gone since pre-first. And we had a pretty good team there. We won most of the games, except there was one team we could never beat, and that was Cockeysville. These guys were solid, every single one of them. We even tried to put in a zone defense. I'm referring to the middle school years, and that didn't slow them down. And then in 8th grade, we played this school that I didn't know much about, Loyola. But I'll tell you what, I recognized a lot of the faces behind those helmets. And not only were they the best kids from each of the rec teams around town, but I bet something like half the kids from that Cockeysville team were on that 8th grade Loyola team. And then I heard from a buddy, and I think he's sitting over there at the table, that Mark Dixon, who was like the best guy over at Catonsville, he was going to come here to go to high school. So I did what any competitive 8th grader would do. I decided, if I'm not going to be able to beat those guys in high school, I might as well go join them. And I certainly don't have anything negative to say about St. Paul's. But Loyola was that bigger pond that I was looking to swim in. There were just more kids here who were great at something, whether it be lacrosse or football or swimming or duck pin bowling or academics or student government. I found that I needed to push myself a little bit harder here to succeed. And that certainly better prepared me for the future, which is why I classified my decision to come here as probably the earliest, but definitely one of those larger macro decisions. Thank you once again. It's indeed a special honor.